Yeah, we're on Hollywood Boulevard, Sam. I'm glad you brought me down here. Yeah, I can start, you know, reminiscing about some of the old timers. The little independents were mostly doing the Western pictures with Lash LaRue, Don Redberry, Bob Livingston, Jack Randall. But, you know, Hollywood Boulevard, it's just marvelous. You know, the great stars that used to be here. Claude Rains, Betty Grable, Donald Michie, Tyrone Power. I mean, those are, and Bela Lugosi and Karloff. Oh, those are the great horror team. Yeah.
Did Karloff play Frankenstein or the Wolfman? I get confused.
Let's see, Karloff. No, he was Frankenstein. He was Frankenstein. And of course, Bela Lugosi was Count Dracula. But do not be afraid. I will not bite you, my friend. But do not be afraid. I will not bite you, my friend. I am Dracula. I bid you good evening. But I do not drink wine. Bela Lugosi, my favorite. Of all the show people, I look up to this man. He was my idol. What a man. What a great man. Incidentally, he does have a son who's a lawyer, corporation lawyer, down in Los Angeles today.
Hey, look, there's the Highway Patrol. Hey, you ever see that old television show, Highway Patrol?
Yeah, yes, not Screen Chance. Ziv TV. Yeah, that was the releasing company. Yeah, we're Broderick Crawford, and I had an opportunity of meeting the man about twice, actually, down at the Red Snapper in La Cienega. After the day's shooting, they would come to that bar, and I was sort of a hangout for me. Yeah, and then Broderick Crawford. I met his dad, and
his dad was a famous actor, wasn't he?
His dad. I think so. Yeah, that's right. His father was his dad or a mother. I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
Yeah, he comes to background of show people. Great. Yeah, and he was a nice man, but he was drunk all the time. Drunk all the time, and he was one of my favorites. I liked him. I go way back when he worked with Edward G. Robinson. Broderick Crawford. Yeah, he was one of my favorites. You know, he became a cowboy star in later years. At first, he was a Paramount player, and he played the romantic leads. And then Universal Studio, he played the Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers. Oh, those were great movie serials. Early 30s, late 30s actually.
You mean the Undersea Kingdom?
No, that was with Ray Corrigan, Crash Corrigan. No, Buster Crabbe did the Buck Rogers and also Flash Gordon. Back to the Universe. Those were my favorite pictures. In fact, as a young kid, in fact, that's one of the early serials I really remember. Boy, they were tops. I love them. Directed by a very good movie director, Ray Taylor.
You used to go to the movies a lot, Laszlo?
Oh yeah, I tell you, it was like going to an opera. Beautiful, and the price was right, 30 cents, and you used to get double features. Yeah, those were great movie serials. In fact, as a little boy, man, they would show them twice on Saturday. They would play twice a day, actually. And I sit through the first serial and sat through the feature and stay for the second serial again. Boy, I tell you, those were exciting pictures. Great. I mean, they were done. Actually, those serials would last about 20 minutes, and that shows you had to really be an excellent movie director to put a picture across in 20 minutes. And those were in 15 episodes. Great, really great. And of course, Republic Pictures made many movie serials. Pearls of Nyoka, The Jungle Girl, Captain Marvel. Yeah, boy, I tell you, them serials were really great. William Whitney, and John English. They both were co-directors. Boy, these two guys, they knew how to make movie serials. Now, before that, in the 30s, it'd be strange. I mean, your Western stars like Ken Maynard, Buck Jones, Hoot Gibson. I mean, they made Westerns, but they were A pictures, and everybody went to see those great Western stars.
I remember Hoot Gibson.
Hoot, yeah, great guy. Yeah, Hoot. I met Hoot. Oh, that's right, Hopalong Cassidy. Yeah, Bill Boyd. Yeah. Yeah, they really made big picture. I mean, Gary Cooper made early days of Westerns as well, Gary. The Westerner he made, Along Came Jones. You know, you believe it or not, all the major guys who play romantic leads in pictures, Tyrone Power, Robert Taylor, Henry Fonda, would you believe it? They all want to do at least one Western. They all had to try it. Even Clark Gable, he only made actually one, maybe two.
Did they make Westerns here at Sunset Gower?
Yeah, well, you know, Columbia Studios on Sunset Gower, and these are called the Gower Gulch, Sunset and Sunset Boulevard and Gower, and right below was Columbia Pictures, and all the cowboys would always hang out there on that corner. It was a drugstore there called Columbus Square, and you know, right down the street was Columbia Pictures, and of course there they used to shoot Charlie Sturt, you know, Durango Kid, and that was a really they made about 6 or 7 of those.
The Durango Kid?
Durango Kid.
I used to see that.
Yeah.
Where was that made?
Columbia Studios.
Where was it located?
Columbia Studios on Gower and Sunset.
Durango Kid was made on Gower and Sunset?
Yeah, well, they have the Columbia Ranch. It's there in Burbank. It's called the Columbia Ranch. I don't think they use it anymore, Sam. We have to check that out. I'm curious. Because now, you know, because the TV came in, you know, there was not 4-Star Productions, Screen Gens. They took over from Columbia. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Columbia Studio merged with Warner Brothers. What a sad deal that is. You know, when a studio has to, you know, merge with another outfit. That doesn't make any sense. Speaking of movie serials, you know, Columbia Pictures made Batman. They were the first one to do Batman in 1939. So they made another one in 1941 or 42. That was very good. And they also did what Warren Hall, they did just the Spider-Man. Wow, that was terrific. They did the White Spider, and they also did the Black Spider. Woo-hoo!
Hey, Conrad, did you ever know that Dragnet guy? What was his name? Joe Friday?
Yeah, it's yeah, that was Jack Webb. Yeah, TV. He's a TV star.
Oh,
yeah, but I still prefer the old movie stars. You know, on a big silver screen. Man, that's what I look up to. TV, you know, it just everything was shrunk. Yeah, they start to shrink these movie stars. In fact, they didn't appeal to me, really, be honest with you. William Whitney and John English. Those guys were terrific movie makers. Oh, and don't forget, you know, another one that I really, really enjoyed, Sam, is the Red Ryder. When that was played by Don Red Barry. You remember him? You know, he after he did the movie serial, then he became a big Western cowboy for Republic Pictures.
Did you know him?
Yeah, Donald Red Barry. Yeah, sure did. Speaking about Columbia Pictures, not only Durango Kid, but now you know, memories coming back to me. You know, when they did the Spider-Man and also the White Spider and Warren Hall. He was a great personality, and you know, he made these movie serials for Columbia Studios. And of course, they also did the Buck Jones. Come to think of later years with Buck Jones, they did the White Eagle with Buck Jones, and that was a pretty good serial, good action. And of course they did Deadwood Dick also. What a title, Deadwood Dick. Briefly met Sinatra. His boy was kidnapped in Reno, and I thought it was a hoax actually. But anyway, I saw him in this was in Burbank. He was doing that picture there with Seven Hoods. Dean Martin was in it. Jack LaRue, my good friend Jack LaRue, who played a gangster in many of films. Anyway, he was in that bar that evening, and your brother was there as well. And I was headed for I knew he was there, because when he comes in, I mean, his presence. I mean, everybody knew Frank Sinatra was there. And there was only about 3 of us at the bar, and he looked around. He says, "I'm here, fellas." And then he looked, and he sees us 3 guys at the bar, and he says, "Buy these guys a drink." He says, "In fact, buy them a double." And that was it. I remember a very nice place on the boulevard. It was called the Old Hitching Post. And they only catered only to Western films, like Rocky Lane, Don Redberry, Lash LaRue, the guy with the whip. He was great, and his horse was called Diamond. Let's see, there was Eddie Dean, of course, and he wasn't one of my favorites. He was a singing cowboy, and of course you had Roy Rogers. But these are the later boys. But my true favorite stars: Hoot Gibson, Buck Jones, Ken Maynard. Those were the big 5. William S. Hart and Tim McCoy. Man, boy, I tell you, those guys in the early 20s, late 20s, boy, the golden days of Hollywood. So, and I was going to the bathroom. So, going back to the bathroom, I saw Frank coming towards me, and I was going to say, thanks for the drink, but I didn't want to disturb the guy. It looked like he had something on his mind. He looked at me real quick. He couldn't help but say hello to the man, and I said, "Hello, Mr. Sinatra," and he didn't say a word. And I says to him, "Maybe I'll say one more word to the man." And I said, "Geez, I'm glad your boy was all right. They found his son." And he didn't say a word to me. And he stepped a few feet away from me. And what shocked me is that he stopped. And he looked back at me. And he says, "Me too." I love that. Frank Sinatra. Yeah. From there on, he became one of my favorites. He made some great films, Frank Sinatra. Suddenly was a very good film. Guys and Dolls. I actually didn't care too much for his early films when he was with MGM Studios. So I'll go back to Republic Pictures also, with Don Redberry. The cowboy, the little beaver, was played by Tommy Cook. He was the first little beaver. And later on, as he got a little older, then they brought in another kid by the name of Robert Blake, who did a TV series called, I forget the title of it, Robert Blake, Beretta, right, Beretta. Yeah, he was also a little beaver. And Pearls of Nyoka, The Jungle Girl, great movie serials. I mean, people just want to know what, the cliffhangers, they were big. People were more interested in those things than in the features, actually. Yeah, good old Hollywood. It's produced a lot of great stuff, many great stuff.
That guy recognized you from a movie. Which movie was that?
Conrad Brooks versus the Werewolf.
What's that? What kind of movie is that? Tell us about it.
It was a fun movie, a fun picture. Shot down in Baltimore, Maryland. When the guy wanted to use me, I said, "Fine. I'll have to use my brothers in it." We did. My brother Henry, my brother Ted. About this guy looking for the werewolf, the character I play. I come across the werewolf. Wasn't much of a story. But the way it was put together was weird, strange. Yeah, it kind of reminded me like the Leo Gorcey and Hunts Hall Bowery boys. They always got in some predicament.
Do you know the Bowery Boys?
Oh yeah, good old Monogram studio. That was really my favorite movie studio. Yeah, they made the Bowery Boys, Bobby Jordan, and yeah, Leo Gorcey. He rates with the best, with some great comedians, Bud Abbott and Lou Costello. Yeah, Bob Hope. Yeah, yeah, they were fun. They were fun shows. They were great. I mean, they were very simple shows. You know, their running time was about 60 minutes or so, not much more than that. And boy, and they put them out on the market. They did around 7 or 8 shows a year. I mean, these guys, and they knocked these pictures out in 5 days. They were marvelous. They're marvelous little pictures. Yeah, Monogram did wonders. They had Bomba the Jungle Boy. They had Whip Wilson, the cowboy star. And in fact, they even had Buck Jones and Tim McCoy and the Rough Riders. And they had terrific movie director, William Bodine, who at one time was a big major director for 20th Century Fox Studio. And as he got older, they knew he was a very fast director. And when we worked with the Bowery Boys, I know those low budget pictures. Even Charlie Chan was made at Monogram with Roland Winters and Mantan Moreland. See, to do a 5-day picture, you got to be quick. You got to be fast. You got to be right there, man. It isn't like you got a 30-day picture you can play with, or a 60-day movie, or a 90-day picture. Boy, when you're doing 5 days, it's got to come across good. Bring your friends over. You guys want to have a few beers together and have a lot of laughs? That's the video to look at. But from the cinema photography, artwork, forget it. It's not there. Low key lighting, high overexposed. What a picture. I wouldn't recommend it, but people like it. Captain Marvel. That was really considered one of the best movie serials of all times. Tom Toller played Captain Marvel, and of course Billy Benson was played by Frank Coughlin Jr. And he's alive. He's 81 years old, lives in Orange County. What a wonderful person. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give him a call since I'm back in town. Give me a little time, I'll have to check in with some of the old boys. Yes, he was a great little guy. And Billy Benedict also, who was in the movie serial. At first I thought it was gonna be a decent picture. I liked the guy's ideas, which was great. Really impressed me. But he didn't know how to put it on film. I even told the guy, I says, I like you, you're a nice guy. He bought a lot of stuff from me at the shows. I thought I'd sort of help him as far as directing was concerned. I went ahead and suggested what we should do actually. That really helped the picture, put it across. He wanted me more credit for it. I says, Rocky, I love you too much. I want you to have all the credit. But anyway, Rocky's a good boy. Good guy. He tries hard, works hard. Give him time. He'll make it.
Who's the guy who played Dillinger that you know?
Oh, that guy. He's a rough boy. He's a tough boy. But I get along with him very good. Now, most people don't. But I get along with him because first thing I say to Lawrence Tierney, that's his name, Lawrence, became a big superstar overnight when he did a picture called Dillinger for the King Brothers, for Monogram Pictures. This was one of their biggest hits. And I get along with Lawrence very well because I look at him and he looks right in my eyes, and I look right back at him and I say, I know you're Dillinger. And he loves that. I acknowledge him. You're Dillinger. You don't mess with this guy. But he's a fun guy. But you got to really understand this man. This guy had a great, great movie career. After he did Dillinger, I think he made about 4 or 5 pictures in Hollywood for RKO Studios. I mean, they loved this man. I mean, he can give you a great performance. But the only problem was, he was like Earl Flynn. From 12 o'clock on, he would drink, and that was it. You couldn't do much with him. So you really had to work hard in the mornings with this guy. In the afternoons, it was like, just run-throughs, actually. But he's been shooting other pictures. In fact, he actually did one. I haven't seen it. Did a picture of a flick. He's got a double for me. The Conrad Brooks double. I understand the guy looked nothing like me, but he didn't have to. Anyway, use the name on the screen, so evidently that helps. I tell you, they made terrific pictures in those days. They had stories to them, and these actors, they had charisma, and they gave you something, even if the pictures weren't great, but they were so terrific, they would hold a picture up, like James Cagney could, Bogart, Sidney Greenstreet, a great character actor. Boy, we don't have them anymore. All gone. It's sad. Speaking of Lawrence, he was always been, I mean, since the time I saw him as Dillinger, I mean, he was the man. He was the real guy. There's nothing phony about this guy. That's it. Okay. Over here?
Yeah, that's fine. Wherever you want to put it. Okay, ready? Are you rolling? Mm-hmm. Good morning, Conrad. Where are we today? This is Saturday.
Oh, yeah. You said Conrad to me. Yes, I'm Sam, right? I mean, you're Sam. What I want to tell you about Lawrence. Yeah, I did a show with him at the Beverly Garlands about 2 years ago. And poor Lawrence had a stroke. And he's sitting at the table, and and people just go by him, and he has this intense look on him. He just looks at you. And sometimes you're afraid to approach this guy for his autograph. You don't know if he's going to bite you or what the hell he's going to do. When one guy walked by with a camera, and I'm not sure if it was a still camera or a video camera. Anyway, the guy took a couple of pictures of Lawrence. And Lawrence just looks up at him, keeps looking at the man, doesn't bat an eye. And after the guy's through taking the pictures of Lawrence, and Lawrence puts his finger up. Hey fella, come on over here. The guy is a little frightened, And he walks over to Lawrence, and Lawrence says to him, "Did I tell you it's okay to take a picture of me? Did I tell you it's okay to take a picture of me?" And the guy looks at Lawrence, he says, "No, I didn't, sir." And Lawrence says, "Well, don't do it anymore." And then the guy walks away. And then Lawrence says, "Hey, boy, hey, man, come here." He says, "Next time, if you do, ask me." Isn't that great? Isn't that great? I love Lawrence. You son of a gun, I love you. Yeah, those days are gone forever. They'll never be back. It's sad, really. The time is early yet. Sounds like a little gospel music. Here I'm in town. They want to convert me already. Convert me to like in Hollywood. I always did like Hollywood. So anyway, just before I left, and I told Lawrence, "Lawrence, I'm going back to West Virginia."
How much does it cost to go across country?
It's pretty cheap for me. If I get my tickets way in advance, I can get it for $225.
Wow.
Cross country, 3 days.
Oh, that's not bad.
Cross country, can't beat that.
Yeah, that's nice.
He looked at me. "What, are you going to be a hillbilly, boy?" Well, I'll try to. That's why I had to go back, and I was originally brought up in that area, so I wanted to go back and see some of the old gang. But they changed, those people. He said, "I tell you what, I don't want you to leave." I said, I gotta leave. I've been out here too long. 50 years was a long time, Larry. So I thought it was maybe a change of pace, go back home, and But the people there weren't the same like they used to be, Sam. You know, you thought you'd go back, you know, they have open arms for you. Great to see your kid, you know, how's Hollywood? But they put on more, they put on the real dog, as though they know Hollywood by going to see the films. And they're going to tell you what they know, they know Hollywood as well. But I got news for those people. I at least spent good many years here with you, Sam, right here in Hollywood, my hometown. What a place. And I love it. He says, no, he says, I want you to stay with me. Oh, no. I love you, Lars, but I ain't going to stay with you, kid. And here I'm back in Hollywood, all these wonderful friends that I had here. And that I felt like, you know, they were so glad to see me. But he was that kind of a guy. If you were, you know, down and out, he'd put you up, you know, stay with me. You know, really, I like Lawrence, great guy. But poor Lawrence, he's been through it. And, you know, in his heyday, he just wouldn't behave himself. You know, he actually believed he was Dillinger. He came across so great that he wanted to be Dillinger. Man, he'd go in bars and have, you know, drink. Bartender come up to him, say, Mr. Lawrence, it's 2 o'clock, it's closing time. He says, is that right? I'll tell you when to close this place. Lawrence said, and the bartender said, oh, no. He says, we're not going to have any trouble, are we, Lawrence? He says, not really. He said, I'll tell you what, I'm staying. And he says, if you don't like it, you call the cops. And the guy said, I'm going to have to. He said, tell you what, before you call the cops, leave the bottle here, right here in front of me. And he said, then you can call the cops. They call the cops. And the cops would come in, 2 of them, right? Uh-oh, it's Dillinger. Backup, we need backup, men. Man, it was 8 or 9 cops would come in. And that son of a bitch, Lawrence, you know, he'd get up and he'd fight with these guys. He tore up that joint. Man, that was a mess. And I remember the next day's newspapers, bad boy of Hollywood. You know, I mean, it had pictures of that poor man. I mean, blood, you know, in his face, you know, just blood all over his face. I mean, the cops really hit this poor man. I mean, I'm surprised he lived through it. And this not only happened in Hollywood, New York, wherever he went, Chicago. And Lawrence just wouldn't, I don't know, he just wouldn't give up. You know, I mean, and actually for 30-some years, he was out of the business. Then I finally saw him in a film. I was shocked. It was a girly movie. I was in a movie theater at the Pussycat Theater. And I'm sitting there, and for about 2 seconds, he's on a screen as a cab driver. And I look up, I says, that's Lawrence. And he's off the screen, of course. And I said, boy, I'm glad to see the man after all these years. But now he did Reservoir Dogs for the great movie director, and he brought his career back. But he was terrific, man as good as ever. He never gave it up. So, you know, that's where I was brought up, actually, in that area. So I thought it was maybe a change of pace, go back home. But the people there weren't the same like they used to be, Sam. You know, you thought you'd go back, you know, they have open arms for you. Great to see your kid, you know, how's Hollywood? But they put on the real dog, as though they know Hollywood by going to see the films. And they're going to tell you what they know, they know Hollywood as well. But I got news for those people. I at least spent good many years here. Pretzels. Right here in Hollywood, my hometown. What a place. And I love it. Even though it's changed a lot, but it brings back many great memories.
Did you ever know this guy who made this movie, Flying Saucers over Hollywood?
Oh!
What was his name?
Oh, boy, you hit the right guy. That was Edward D. Wood Jr. But Ed Wood, he made this little low-budget film. And you know who he had in that picture? Bela Lugosi. In fact, when he was promoting the film at the time, he told the backers, he says, I got Bela Lugosi. And when backer looked at him, says, you got, 'Bela' 'Lugosi'? Bela' 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 ' They thought it was crazy. He says, no. He said, I got footage of Lugosi just before he died, unseen. Nobody's seen any of that footage of Bela. And he said, I can incorporate it into this movie, which was called Plan 9 from Outer Space. And he had a terrific cast of actors. He had Lyle Talbot, he had Vampira, Criswell, Gregory Walcott, and he had a mess of good actors in that picture. Even had a guy by the name of Conrad Brooks. Stock players. Yeah, Eddie Wood, he was something else. And he shot that film in 5 days. And the more they condemned the film and crucified the picture, it became world famous. Of course, it took 30 years. I don't think it helped the actors much, because by the time the picture became very popular, I mean, you know, all the actors practically were, you know, either dead and gone or they were old people. But poor Ed Wood became a very famous man. Incidentally, they did his life story. Tim Burton and Walt Disney, they spent like $30 million doing this fellow's life story. Boy, they sure made him a great hero. There's a guy who made low-budget pictures, but he went out and all the odds were against him, man. But he did it. He did it. Now, that wasn't the only picture he did. Glen or Glenda. He did A Sinister Urge, Revenge of the Dead, Night of the Ghouls, and actually Bride and the Monster, believe it or not, that was his best movie. And also with Bela Lugosi. Yeah, well, Bela stuck by him. You know, Bela had a lot of problems in Hollywood. You know, drug addict. The guy couldn't even buy a job. The guy was a marvelous actor, terrific actor. But, you know, age and plus, you know, being on drugs, it didn't help the situation. So like I say, it was tough for the old boy in the end. But Ed Wood stuck right by this man. And Ed tried to get all the work he could for him. Of course, I mean, by using Lugosi, it also helped Ed Wood to raise money for his pictures. And Ed was a pretty sharp boy. Nice man. The only problem is he drank too much.
The guy live around here in Hollywood somewhere?
You mean Ed Wood? Yeah. Yeah, he was, listen, 40 years of Hollywood, the poor guy. Yeah, he lived all over Hollywood. Yucca, not right off of Hollywood Boulevard. Yeah, it was a Hollywood man. Yeah, he loved Hollywood when Hollywood was really nice. You know, back in the day.
Remember the riots?
Do I? Hey, listen, I was frightened.
Remember all those hippies with the long hair?
Yeah, they're the ones that really messed up Hollywood.
You never had long hair, did you, last long?
Well, I started losing my hair, Sam. You know that.
Remember when we used to eat at Musso and Frank?
Yeah, well, you got me down on Hollywood Boulevard. Hey, in fact, we're just going by Musso Frank's, your favorite place. We went there at least twice a week. And all the show people go there. You know, people from way back. Clark Gable, Lana Turner, and Betty Grable.
Then we go to Pink, remember Pink?
Oh, yeah, the hot dog place, yeah. But, you know, Hollywood Boulevard, it's just marvelous. You know, the great stars that used to be here. Claude Rains, Betty Grable, Donald. Well, today, you know, you got a lot of teenagers, you know, they all want to get involved making films in Hollywood, you know, they all come to Hollywood and you know, right off the bat, you know, they're all, you know, all going to make big pictures and, oh, terrible stuff, you know. I've seen some of those pictures. I mean, they're really, to me, most of them are just bad. Too much damn dialogue. They talk the story away. You know, what do you think you're doing the 10 Commandments? Just gab and gab, and you know they don't put no life to the picture. No, nothing to it. It's just flat. It's like watching a stage play. I mean, a motion picture means movement, and that's what you got to have is movement. If you lose that, you got no movies. And you got to have, you know, good, strong actors. Even if you have a young lead, you got to have developed characters. And this is what makes a motion picture, your characters. When you lose your characters, well, I mean, you got nothing. It's like a script. You don't have no development of characters. I mean, what do you got there? I mean, two people looking at each other and saying how much they love each other, or they're going to go have a cocktail somewhere, and that evening ready to go to sleep together. You know, that's routine stuff. You got to put some flesh into those shows, movement. Keep it alive. You know, build it up. Put it in the second gear, man. Shoot in the third gear and hold it there, man. And something's bound to happen. Something's got to happen. Excellent. Cut. Boy, I tell you. Yeah, those Sam, it's going to be hard to bring back those days. There's just no way. It's like, who's going to bring back Hollywood? Look at the place. It's changed a lot. You know what I mean? The Brown Derby's not there anymore. Macombo, Ciro's is not there anymore. Errol Carroll on Sunset Boulevard, opposite of the Palladium. And the Palladium, I mean, that's a dump now, actually. Yeah, go to Hollywood. It's changed a lot. Really has. That's enough. Thank you.